Hey friends, in this video we're going to talk about the sixth meditation in Descartes' Meditations on First Philosophy. What have we seen so far? Well, meditation 1, doubting. Meditation 2, we exist. Meditation 3, God exists. Meditation 4, if you want to be right, only make up your mind about what's indubitable, right? That is to say, what's clear and distinct. In this meditation, we get two main ideas. The first one is Descartes' argument for substance dualism, which we'll go into in a moment. The second one is very short, but it's Descartes' argument that we have good reason to think the external world exists. So, first off, substance dualism. What is it? Well, substance meaning substance, and dualism meaning two-ism. So it's two substances. For Descartes, the two substances are mental substance and physical substance. So first, what exactly does he mean by substance? Well, what he means is that which doesn't depend on anything else in order to exist. So compare for a second my trusty mug with the color of the mug. The mug can continue existing even if the color changes. So if I were to paint my mug white or black, the mug itself would continue to exist. So the mug's existence is separate, is independent from the color of the mug. However, the color of the mug depends for the mug on its existence. So if I were to chuck this mug into the sun, the color of the mug would also cease to exist. So the color is what's called an accident, and the mug is a substance. Now, the mug is a substance, the pen is a substance, my mask is a substance, my keys are a substance. And each one of these things exists independently of the other things. So that's to say that if I were to smash this mug, this pen would be just fine. Similarly, for Descartes, we are made up of two substances, a physical substance and a mental substance. The physical substance is our bodies, right? The fleshy, sweaty thing that, sort of bumps into trees and stuff. The mental substance is what does the thinking. So for Descartes, bodies are extended, that is, they take up room in space, but are unconscious. My body doesn't think, nor does the mug. Minds, however, mental substance, are unextended. They do not take up room in space. And they are conscious. They experience things. They think. So Descartes argues that human beings are sort of the connection or a collision of mental substance and physical substance. That is to say, bodies and minds. Bodies are distinct from minds on Descartes' account. So, why think this is true? So the argument here is this. If it's possible for me to exist without my body, then I am not the same thing as my body. I am not my body. The second argument is, or the second premise is, it is possible for me to exist without my body. Therefore, I am not my body. We have the same logic here. It's another modus ponens argument. The argument is valid, right? We have if P then Q, P therefore Q. The question is it sound? So let's take each one of these premises. Now, let's work with the first premise first. If it's possible for me to exist without my body, then I'm not the same thing without my body. I'm not the same thing as my body. So again, like we did last time, when the argument for God's existence, we begin with the assumption in the first premise, right? We say, suppose, for the sake of the argument, that it is possible to exist without your body. That is to say, that you, your mind, your soul, can exist without the body. Well, in that case, we are not our bodies, right? Why is that? Well, if one thing can exist without the other, then those things are separate things. My mug can exist without the pen, therefore, they're separate things. Or another way to think about it is, if two things are really the same, then one can't exist without the other. Right? So, Superman can't exist without Clark Kent, therefore, or rather, excuse me, Superman and Clark Kent are the same person, right? Two names, same dude. Therefore, you can't one can't exist without the other. Right? So, if they can exist separately, then they're not the same thing. The second one, it is possible for me to exist without my body, right? So what does it mean to say that it's possible? Well, what it means to say is that it could happen, right? We can imagine it happening. Right? So can you imagine existing without your body? And the answer is yes. We do this all the time. If you've ever watched Harry Potter, right? They have the ghosts floating around. Those are souls, right? Minds, thinking substances, existing without bodies. If you've watched Freaky Friday, where they do like a mind swap, right? My mind is existing without my particular body. That is to say, they're separate things. So it is in fact possible for us to exist without our bodies. Again, because we can imagine it, right? We can imagine this happening, so it could happen, no matter how unlikely it might be that my soul would be separated from my body. But however, the mere possibility is all we need for us to say that we are not our bodies. Our minds, our souls, the mental substance that makes us what we are, our conscious life, all of this can exist without my body, right? Without each one of our bodies. So we are really two things, right? We are minds or souls housed inside of physical bodies. Now, if you're asking which one of these is really me, right? Which one of these is, right, the thing I talk about when I use the word I, it's the mental stuff, right? That's what makes me, me. My mind, my soul, that's what makes me the person I am. My body isn't what makes me who I am. So, in the sixth meditation, we get this argument for substance dualism, right? Which is a major tenet of Descartes' philosophy, right? That we are these two separate stuffs. Now, the other point I mentioned is a really straightforward one about the world existing. So, at this point, Descartes knows that he exists and that his mind is separate from his body. But notice, he still doesn't know that he has a body, right? So the argument for substance dualism is kind of a tentative conclusion because it's saying if he has a body, then it's separate from his mind, right? It's a different kind of stuff than his mind. So why think that he has a body or that the world outside his mind exists? In a word, God. Right? We have a really strong impression that we have bodies, that things like coffee mugs, keys, pens, computer mouses, mices, phones, We have a really strong sense that these things exist. And God wouldn't let us have that impression if it weren't roughly right. So in other words, if either there is something inside of me causing me to have these hallucinations, right? Hallucinations of having a body, or if there were an evil demon causing me to have these hallucinations, or if I were in a dream, God would let us know, right? God would give us the heads up that these things aren't real, right? That these are figments of somewhere's imagination. Why would God do that? Because God is all good and all loving and all knowing and all powerful. And God wouldn't let us have this really strong impression of a world existing without giving us the heads up that there's something corresponding to these impressions. So in other words, we believe the world exists, and we're justified in believing the world exists because we are in the hands of a loving and caring and all-powerful God who wouldn't trick us into thinking the world around us exists.